Welcome back to the Irish NUFC show. It is episode 88, a big, nice round number, and an episode in which not only has Alan Williamson abandoned me for reasons which we might explain next week, I've also been abandoned by Krisho because he's fecked off on holidays. So, in the spirit of the transfer window where we have to go and find alternatives, I think I've done a better job than Newcastle United in a short space of time because I have found a very suitable alternative, a friend of the podcast, a man who has been on this show before, representing the Northern Irish contingent of the Irish Mags, and of course, True Faith, Mr. Stu Montgomery. Welcome back to the Irish Mags show, Stu.
Thanks, mate. I am your Jacob Ramsey. That's what you're saying there.
Yes, except the deal hasn't been done. So if you do anything bad, I can still call it off. If you fail your medical, or if you just be a dick, we can just give you the boot before the great to have you on, Stu. As I said, the lads I've given them a week off. You know what? Everybody needed a break from them two lads, including me. So I was thinking of doing one of my own. I just give out about them and all my own feelings and all my own rants, but nobody needs to hear that. So thankfully you're here to keep me from sharing all my inner monologue. I'm going to ask you a few questions, Stu, about what's been going on for your summer. I also believe you were in Newcastle recently and you saw some Irish Mags in the wild. Before we get to that, I suppose I wanted to check in, particularly looking at how your summer has been, and do you echo the sentiments of Newcastle United fan bases all around? Has it just been a shit summer? And has the last few days slightly brightened things up? Because we're going to talk about transfers, two of which have happened since we last recorded this podcast.
Yeah, I've had a great summer apart from the transfer business. If we take this week out of it, it's been, as I'm sure many people listening or watching will probably agree with me, a lot of it is wake up, check Twitter, feel sad, repeat for the rest of the day.
Yeah,
it's been weep and repeat. It has been difficult because I think it's been difficult. It's been worse than last year. It's in a way because last year you almost got into like a way of thinking, well, it was Gahey or bust, and obviously it turned out to be bust. But that you knew that apart from Gahey, that was kind of it. Like once we'd established where we were and the fact that we're selling people for PSR reasons, we sort of accepted our lot. We knew what was going on. At the start of this summer, it was very much a case of the world's your oyster. Go out, do it, spend what you want. This is going to be great. This is the summer where we take off, and it just hasn't been like that. It's been quite the opposite, and it's been a very sobering summer for us. You know, let's talk of pecking order and things like that, and it has felt like that. It's felt like us being sort of shunted to the back of the lunch queue and saying, like, you're not up here with the big boys. You're at the back, you know, or maybe more accurately, you're in the middle. Go back to the middle. You tried to sneak your way to the front. It's just not going to happen anymore. So that's been really difficult to stomach, unfortunately, because it did feel like it was progression when you win a trophy, when a club like ours wins a trophy, and I was going to say consistent Champions League qualifications, relatively consistent, 2 out of 3 years.
2 out of 3 isn't bad. Yeah.
It is. You do feel like you're kind of developing into that sort of club, albeit off the pitch stuff seems to be as amateurish as it was, or not. That's under actually. That would be massively unfair, but certainly bad. You know, nowhere near the level of what's been done on the pitch. It's not reflective of that at all. So that's why it's been frustrating. Personally, I've had a great summer. It's been really nice. Lots of nice family stuff, as you say. Got over LaSalle Cup, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And yeah, I suppose I'm ready though. I'm ready for the new season. I'm ready for the new academic year because my work revolves around that, and so there's an element of routine with that for me. So I'm just looking forward to getting into the routine of the for me the normal of football, of a little bit more routine, maybe not drinking too much or eating too much on a regular basis as you do tend to do in summer. Trying to a tiny bit of routine might help me, and the football does help with that as well. It kind of breaks up the weekend, breaks up the weeks.
It's a long summer without football because, I mean, look, the transfer window just takes up so much of it. Every summer gets worse and worse and worse in terms of rumors, in terms of noise, and like we probably got a bit flat with transfer windows as in fan base because nothing was happening. And now, not only did we went in with expectations of bringing in some really big names, finally be able to express ourselves in the transfer window, And unfortunately, the other way around happened, where one of our big players obviously got linked and has been unsettled and has his head turned, and it's really made a fuck of everything. And what that has inadvertently done, I feel, is that we weren't sitting there at the start of the summer or at any point really early going, oh shit, we don't have the people in place, sporting directors, Darren Ian's, Paul. Nobody was overly worried about that until the Alex Andrews, that kind of stuff started happening. And then suddenly the cracks start to appear. Suddenly you start to have real doubt and trust issues. And then that combined with failing to kind of nail some targets, it's like, shit, we're not really equipped for this. And a lot of other clubs are. And you look how quickly a lot of other clubs did business, like Liverpool and City obviously moved very quickly early in the window. Chelsea, similarly, probably for Club World Cup reasons. Arsenal getting targets that they've been after a long time. And we said on this pod, obviously, we are not the big fish. You've said it yourself. We don't eat at the same table. There are the cartel, and there are those who are kind of hanging around them, and the doors kind of are firmly closed. And that's without wearing a tinfoil hat, it's kind of how they want it to be, I suppose, for want of a better phrase. But, and I'll say, but we are getting closer and closer. I think the Isaac situation is still open. We're not going to talk about Isaac too much today because the situation hasn't changed. So I believe there's no point really talking about it. It's been over spoken about already. But we're finally starting to make some positive moves. And I'm going to talk about some of the recent transfers. But I want to ask you a question about a specific player who I believe you saw at the Celtic Cup by the name of Anthony Elanga. Now, I know the result didn't go great. I have seen Anthony Elanga play live for Nottingham Forest, but obviously not for Newcastle. I just wanted to kind of see, obviously, I'm sure you had your eyes on him when you were in St James Park at the Celtic game. How did he look? Is he as fast in real life, or is he faster than everyone says? Were you impressed?
He's at least as fast. He may even be faster. I was really impressed, and it took about 10 minutes to just watch him, to watch the movement, to watch the run that he was making. He's a very intelligent footballer, from what I can see. He makes really good runs, and the only thing that holding him back was a finisher. He set up Joelinton at least 3 times in the first 40 minutes where he probably should have scored or did. He missed the target, I think, on 2 of those cases, maybe even all 3. I think if a certain striker had been playing, I think we would have got those goals. And one of the things I talked about with the performance in general, although it was disappointing at halftime, there were 2 big caveats for that performance. One of them was we were playing with half a team, essentially. Half our team played on Friday, half our team played on Saturday. Athletic Madrid weren't doing that. They had their full squad and they rotated it. Like, they brought on 11 players about 10 minutes into the second half. Like, I've never seen that before in my life. All 11, they all left and they all got on about 10 minutes in. And from that point on, you could tell the legs were just fresh legs. Also better players like Griezmann, who obviously scored.
Yeah.
That was really apparent. So that's a huge caveat to consider. The thing to remember, though, or for me to I keep telling myself, is the first 40 minutes we were the better side, quite comfortably the better side in that game. We should have been a couple of goals up, as I've said, and largely that was down to Anthony Elanga. He had their right back on toast at least 4 or 5 times, to the point where Conte, Simeone, who's a very good manager, we're doubling up on him. It reminded me a lot of ASM. I don't necessarily mean that. I mean that very positively. I don't mean it negatively. He's so fast. He's so electric. He's so not unpredictable because you almost know what he's going to do. He's going to hit the byline. He's going to run at you, and that is scary. It's almost a bit unorthodox for a player to be just so direct. And we saw a lot with that at Nottingham Forest last season. But it's going to open up so many doors for us. About 2 weeks ago, was very, very pessimistic about the Aston Villa game coming up.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we'll win. We have a horrendous record down there generally. However, I'm way more positive having seen what Anthony Elanga can do and the fact he is so fast and what he's able to do. Good with his feet, can cross a ball. Some people said the crossing wasn't great. I thought it was. I thought he hit a man almost every time and he got lots of chances. The only question for me during the game was why we stopped giving the ball to him. Like, we seemed to stop doing it at the second half. I'm not sure why. Maybe substitutions forced that, but he was very, very good. A very exciting acquisition. And I'm not someone that was particularly excited. I was just excited to sign someone. So by the time he got him over the line, it could have been anybody. I wouldn't have minded. But I was very impressed. I can see the vision. I can see the plan already forming. And there's been a lot of chat about us not having a different game plan this year. The players we've signed have kind of fallen into the same kind of bracket. I think he's different. I think he's a wee bit different to Gordon and to Barnes and others. He's just fast. Now, you can do lots of stuff, but that's his main attribute. And long balls over the top, big long runs from him in good positions, I think it's going to be really, really effective. So, yeah,
He did
really,
it to
really
us.
encouraging.
He did it to us for Forest. Like
Yeah.
there's a goal they score where he just ran past everyone.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you compared him to Alan Maximin. Now, where it'll get interesting is Maxi used to get doubled up on because he was our only threat,
Yeah.
realistically. And that's just how it was, pretty much, go back a few years ago. If you think about it now, I think one of the reasons Jacob Murphy surprised everyone last season is because people weren't really giving him the respect in terms of that marking and thinking of him as a threat and probably looking more at Gordon or Barnes. What you'd like to think now is that clubs are going to have to go, shit, we really need to worry about Anthony Elanga.
Mm-hmm.
And that might then create that space, either, laterally in terms of, Gordon, getting some of those switch balls over to Gordon or Barnes or whoever. But even seeing, Sandro Tonali making those bursting runs into space. Obviously, Bruno now is playing in a more advanced role. That could unlock something too. And then we don't know who's going to be up front, and we don't want to talk about that. But having that asset is huge because as a fullback, as somebody who has played right back for the majority of his life playing football, which means I'm very good at it, there's absolutely nothing worse. Even now when I'm playing in my mid to late 30s, when you come up against some 19, 20-year-old winger with speed and pace and fitness to burn because you're just having to chase. It's a nightmare to mark against. So that's what you want. You want Anthony Elanga coming up against the Luca Dean or whoever they've got at left back, because I think the rings are on them. But still a tough fixture, as we said. Okay, that's Elanga. Anything else catch your eye at Stella? Did you have many pints? I know you had to bring your kids over, which is always nice. Stella is brilliant for that.
Yeah, that was the main purpose of it. I would go every couple of years just to sort of keep them emotionally invested in Newcastle
Yes,
United.
just as much as you are, you just need them to be on that journey with you.
I think share. No, the problem with their thing was because we were leaving, we were there on the Saturday. We flew over on the Saturday morning, so our flight was at 7. So we're in the airport for about 5. So it meant the kids were up at about 3:30, which was fine. They were all right. To be fair, that they were grand, but they were absolutely exhausted by the time we reached 3:30 on,
of course,
match day. Consequently, they both fell asleep. So that's pretty much. So I have plenty of pictures of me holding my son, who is absolutely sparked out at about halftime. So to be fair, I would have probably preferred to be asleep for the second half as well. So. They didn't miss too much.
I can tell you, I've been in matches where people in my company have been almost asleep at halftime. They're very different reasons in terms of what's sending them off to sleep, but each to their own. Deadly experience, on fairness.
No one else really stood out to me. Nothing that was really expected.
Not our best performance.
I watched the game on Friday, the Espanyol game. I thought Ramsey looked good to the point where I won't be annoyed, but I do expect, as a lot of people seem to expect now, Ramsey to finish the season as number 1, just purely because of age and his kicking ability, in that he has some, as opposed to Nick Pope, who I really like, but can't kick. Yeah. So I would like to see him, and he impressed. Bruno was great on Friday as well, which is really exciting to see. He's playing well again. Tonali was good. No, Tonali was okay, actually. I actually thought he wasn't his best. He was good initially, first 5 minutes, and he kind of dropped off a wee bit in the game against Atletico. So, yeah, nothing really caught my eye as a surprise. The only thing I was looking for, as you've alluded to, was a line against how he would fare, and he was good. We played like a team overall. It just missed a striker. We no striker, which is unfortunately the way it is. It will be very different should we get one in, or potentially the one we have gets his boots on.
It is concerning the way things are, even as of today. The so-called strike continues. He's not training with the club. They don't think he'll play against Villa. He could find if he doesn't come to the Villa game, etc., etc. So it is concerning because we're just, whatever about not having a striker, we've been poor without Isak. And obviously then the backups, Asula and Wilson, just haven't been cutting it over the last year or so. So it's definitely a big concern. And
you know my feelings on it. You know where I stand on this.
I do. I know exactly where you are. And I think a lot of people do. I mean, I think the situation needs to be resolved.
Yeah.
I think we could all have feelings. Okay, should he stay? Should he go? Fees? That it needs to be resolved is what it needs.
I think you're right. But I don't feel like it should.
It just needs
I
to
think
be
if it should or would or could, as he will. He will score 20 plus goals for us next season. I'd put my house on it. I would absolutely put my house on it. He can't go. The whole situation, yes, it's toxic. Yes, it's this, but strip all the emotion back from it and just look at it pragmatically. He is an asset to Newcastle that's worth, if we'll say 140 to 150, I firmly believe he's worth at least 150 in today's market, seeing what you see
yeah.
players go for. So let's just say 145, 150, right? He is worth that. He knows he's worth that. His agent knows he's worth that. That's why he's taking up such a big fuss. Regardless of what games have been played and all this nonsense, Liverpool need to put a bid in. They haven't done that, as in a bid that's acceptable or even near that. They've tried to get him on the cheap by using underhand tactics, or maybe they haven't. Maybe the agent has just been stirring this the whole time. Who knows? Who will ever know?
Mm.
But if they were going to do all this, if they were going to put a bit of 150 million in, or even very close to that 140 to 150, that needed to happen in July. It needed to happen then. It needed to happen whenever, whenever the Ekatike stuff was happening, maybe even before that. It needed to happen in July because they must have known. It was extremely naive of them to think, well, we'll buy him in August, basically, when they've no chance to get a striker. I think, why would what team would do that? We don't need to sell. We don't need the money. It's the worst. This is not 2 or 3 years down the line. He will play. He will play eventually. This will all disappear. It'll all go.
Mm.
It's really unpleasant. It's horrible. I don't like it. I'm not saying I won't forgive him. I won't forget this, but I might forgive him, if you understand. And if he gets 20 plus goals, I'll probably forgive him, but I'll never forget about it. He'll not get a statue now. Do you know what I mean? I'm not think, why does he care? Who cares if he's winning, all these Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues? But that's kind of where it is. No one will forget this, but they might forgive him if he carries on and starts scoring goals. I cannot fathom, and it felt like it for about a month now, how we sell him. The most annoyed person in the Northeast when the Sesko bid fell through was Alexander Isak. That was his
Oh yeah.
only out. That was I was trying to explain this to my wife because not that she cares. But I was following it. It was during our anniversary trip. So lucky her. I was checking Twitter the whole time. It was the night where it all fell apart and he was going, Sesko decided to go to Man U. And I was saying, look, the most person annoyed about this is Isak. It's the most, because that is his only way out. It was our only viable option. They know that. Isak knows that. And this is the last throes of a very desperate man, whether that's his agent or Isak. They'll kick a wee bit. They'll find him. He won't care. It'll get down September and he'll have to get his boots on. He's not going to sit there and not play. He will have to get playing. He'll have to face the music. He'll get roundly booed. He'll score. And then that'll be it, because he will score. He's a extremely talented player. I personally rather saw my legs off and sell him to Liverpool at this stage with the
Yeah. I think that's like the desired outcome. There was rumors of Real Madrid. I think they would need to offload someone like Vinny Jr. or Rodrigo. PSG is the one I've always been surprised haven't been tempted by this. Now I know their model has changed and they're not splashing the cash as much, but they did spend 90 million on Kvaratskhelia last January.
Mm-hmm.
It was a brilliant signing for them.
Really
They
good.
have the money. They have sold players. I think they're about to sell Donnarumma actually. I'm amazed that they haven't really kind of thrown their hat in here, but maybe they're reluctant to just pay what is a massive, massive price. I mean, the bottom line, it is a massive price, worth it or not. The market dictates it's worth it. The fees of other players dictates it's worth it. But it is an absolute shitstorm of a scenario between him, the agent, Liverpool, everyone involved, even Newcastle, right? All the shit with the contract and how this has all come about and just caught everyone by surprise and turned the window upside down. As I said, it just needs to fucking be resolved, because at the end of the day, he's got a World Cup. Isak has a World Cup next year. Now, there's no doubt he's not going to get called up for Sweden, but Gyökeres comes in and scores 28 goals, 25 goals, 20 goals for Arsenal. You know that there are other players that Sweden have. Isak isn't guaranteed if he has a shit season. That's just the bottom line stuff.
Yeah.
We need it to go away because it's too fucking upsetting. But for now, he is a Newcastle United player. For now, he is listed on the club official website where it lists the squad numbers. He is still number 14. Interestingly, number 9 is and still continues to remain vacant. Eyes emoji on that one. And really quickly, while we're talking squad numbers too, because we're very biased here on the Irish Max show, I love to see that Alex Murphy was given a squad number. I know he spent a season, 6 months on loan at the end of last season, but Alex Murphy from Galway, from my hometown, is named in the squad number list. He's been given number 37. Has featured in preseason. Was unlucky to score an own goal. by all accounts, has been fairly solid. I think by all accounts has been better than Matt Target. Which okay, that not to
Low bar,
say loads
low
Target's been
bar, low
really
bar.
good, low bar. But for me, I'd like to think that because he's Irish and he's at Newcastle, we're the Irish Mags here. I'd love to think that this guy could be the backup for Lewis Hall because I think he can do what Lewis Hall does better than Matt Target does. If that makes sense in terms of getting up and down the pitch, a little bit better on his feet. I'd love to see him get some game time. I'd love to see him get on in some of the cups. Maybe get a bit of game time if we are playing and beating a lower hot slash level Champions League game. Because yeah, I mean, I love having an Irish player at the club I support. Shay Given was always the one, and then from there we've had ups and downs. Good, some good with the likes of Stephen Carr and players like that. Even Damien Duff, not too bad. And then we go a bit in the opposite end with Stephen Ireland and Jeff Hendrick and so on. So you've actually probably got a better record for Northern Irish players,
That's
particularly
actually
with
a
like
really
Aaron
good
Hughes.
idea for a pod.
Yeah,
It just occurred to me there. I actually think our record might. Oh, no, I don't know about that actually.
Jamal Lewis brings you down. Aaron Hughes brings you
Aaron Hughes brings
up.
us up, Jamal Hughes brings us down, Shane Ferguson brings us down again. I think. So I think it probably is about the same, to be honest. Quite a low level.
Yeah, it isn't great, but we take the wins, and it would be a win. I'd love to see Alex Murphy basically sitting on the bench, playing for Newcastle, getting little bits of game time here and there, getting the experience. I think there is a potential of a player there. Maybe not permanently at Newcastle if the club continues to rise in the direction it's going. But you'd love to think that he could forge a career for himself, particularly maybe at a Premier League club, if he can get the game time and get eyes on him. And hopefully when they play for Ireland, which would be lovely indeed. Okay, now it feels good, Stu. It feels good to be a bit more positive. Like the last 2 or 3 weeks have been tough. Particularly around here when Chris was drinking his red wine. He was on the vodka last week. And things do get a bit negative because each week kind of progressed to be shitter than the one before it. Um, Finally, this week, we have made some positive movements in the transfer market. Parking all the Isak nonsense aside, we kind of started the week. We've seen Dubravka move to Burnley, Lacademos out in a blaze of glory on loan to Sevilla. The less probably said about that, the better. But we finally confirmed what I think was a target for 3 years in the signing of Malik Chow. Is it Chow? I think I'm getting that right. I've
There's
watched
Chow,
Irish
yeah.
pronunciation. So we're going with Malik Chow. Finally, is a Newcastle United player, official, confirmed. I've read £38 million. I've read £40 million. Either way, this guy looks like he could be the real deal. Stu, what do you know about Malik Chow beyond how to pronounce his name?
I know he's very tall. I watched the video today of him meeting his teammates, and he also seems a really genuine guy. Eddie Howe seems to have an archetype of type of player he likes now. Like him will park the Isak stuff. Maybe he's not genuine, blah blah blah. But he seemed genuine to start off with. But Chow just seems a really nice guy. I mean, if you watch the videos on YouTube, he brings his very young son, I think 1 or 2 years old, possibly, onto the pitch and lets him sort of walk around with them. And you can tell he's kind of overawed. And I always think about the fact that he's from Milan, he's from the San Siro, he's used to those austere surroundings. He's used to playing for a huge club, and you can see that he's impressed with what he can see there. He's impressed with meeting Eddie Howe. He's impressed with the city as well, which is really, really important. As a player, I think the aim is for him to be the next sort of Fabian Schär, and that is a very exciting thing to be, because if we all knew the impact Schär would have had when he signed from Deportivo all those years ago, we would have been all very, very excited indeed. But he's athletic, he's fast, which we severely lack at the back from a centre back point of view. So that's really, really important. I think the way we play under Howe is so effective, but it requires a number of different pieces. If you take, for example, the goalkeeper, without Pope and someone who comes out so quickly to collect the ball, the whole system kind of falls apart. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's and Jigsaw's probably the wrong analogy. It's like building a bridge or something. You don't put the top bit, it'll just falls to bits. So that we need all those pieces in place, and having Shar's good, and I'm glad he's still there as a member of the squad, but he is getting on a bit. I think he's 33 now, maybe
Maybe more.
definitely getting on a bit. So we need that youth, and having that back line, of Chow, of Chow, I should say, of Botman, of Hall, and of Livermento. And if he takes off, as hopefully he will do, Ramsdale, that's a very good back five. Now, they all have to remain injury free, Botman being the biggest question mark over them. It's a very strong, very young back five, and we've been looking at that for a while. So it's exciting. I'm excited to see how strong he is, how he read the game. It's hard to tell how defenders will adapt to this league, because we've seen people come over and just not do it, not be able to do it, not be able to handle the physicality of the league. I think Serie A is a better league for that. It's generally a more physical league, so hopefully he'll be able to do that. The boys' Champions League experience, he's got Serie A experience. He's already played for a massive club in Italy. I noticed as well that they put his locker beside Tonali's, which I love, because they're also teammates, so trying to bed him in. So I just think it made sense. It's just I think it made sense.
I really hope, Stu. I really hope more than anything that when Jacob Murphy walks into that dressing room and sees the two lads side by side, he's just going to go, "Ooh, Milan friends."
Well, funny you mentioned that, actually, because what sprung to my mind was that video from years ago where it was Wilson and it was Richie and possibly someone else. What's his name? Fraser. And it was like, if you can't bring, and Wilson's like, if you can't bring Newcastle to Bournemouth, bring Bournemouth to Newcastle. And I was like, it's like, but now we're doing that with Champions League club in Milan. You can see the levels. That was in Eddie Howe first joined, and now
things have changed.
2 or 3 years now. We're pinching people from AC Milan. That's the level we're striving to attain to. It's exciting. I think time will tell. The bigger question for me is how quickly he starts. I don't know his answer to that question. I would like to think pretty sharpish, but Eddie does tend to slowly do these things, albeit there are a few caveats, but generally he takes their time. I'd like to see him get in there and see what he can do. It would be a pretty hard game to throw him in terms of Aston Villa. It's a very tricky one, and the Liverpool game. So we will have to see. But he's quick, he's physical, he can pass the ball. It's kind of what you want from a modern centre back.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest testament I always find when it comes to signing a player is the reaction of the fan base, of the opposition, not the opposition, but of the selling club's fan base. And by all accounts, from what I can see, a lot of the Milan fan base are gutted to lose this guy. And I think part of it is they've sold other players, and he has become kind of one of the, like, they're not blessed with options. Let's put it that way. They do have Tomori there, but he's picked up a few injuries here and there. But by all accounts, from what I saw on social media, is that the fans are literally saying we've sold our best centre back, best passing centre back in Serie A, all this kind of stuff. So that for me is reassuring, because the last thing you want is to see a fan base. I don't care if they sold a player. It does mean we've signed a good player. There's also a lot of clips going around of just various defensive moves, of various tackles he's made. He gets out wide to tackle. He's not afraid to, let's say, leave the centre half area and go out and take on a winger. He was doing it against Real Madrid in one of the clips I saw. So loads of promise. I do think, to your last point there, that Eddie Howe might take his time with him, because it's Eddie Howe and that's what he does. Botman, we know there's question marks on, and we would really love to see those recurring injury niggles go away, because the idea of a Malik Thiaw, Sven Botman centre half partnership, while I don't think we'll see it anywhere in the first couple of weeks or months, I'd love for us to finish the season with a Thiaw Botman partnership, at least in a lot of the league games. Again, it's probably harsh on Dan Burn, but when you're looking forward thinking, this is kind of where my mind goes. And it's exciting, like I said, to be coaching players from AC Milan and not Bournemouth from 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when they were yo-yoing and stuff like that. Okay, that is Malik Thiaw, which we're pronouncing like pros to. Irishmen pronouncing names correctly. Who'd have thunk it? That's how you say that. Me fail English? That's impossible. One other signing then we should talk about, Stu. Actually, do you know what? Before I do that, I wanted to test you, Stu, because you're looking a bit too comfortable. Malik Thiaw becomes the third German first-team player for Newcastle United in the Premier League era. Can you tell me the other two?
Haman is going to be one of them.
Haman is one of them, yes.
He's the one that sprung to my mind first. German? God. Can I have a clue?
He's German.
Okay.
I can tell you he has played for Newcastle United in the last, I'm just going to go 5 years to not make it too easy for you.
God. Oh, God. 5 years, really?
In the last 5 years, if not less. It is less.
Um, I don't know. I don't want to leave dead air. Who did I'm about to give up? So who did we sell him to, or who did we sign him from? And that'll probably help me.
I'm pretty sure he was released. He played very little games for us, but
God.
he played one big game in particular
Oh,
that didn't go so well for us.
Karius.
Loris
I
Karius.
didn't think he was
Correct.
German. He was like Finnish
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
But okay.
He's not finished. He's moved to Serie A.
Dumb. There you go.
Hello. Put me seat up there. So yeah, Malik Chow becomes the first team German player for Newcastle United, which is also
Ever.
I'm just going Premier League era, so I was just looking at
That's still incredible. That's still like a
Yeah, only the
huge
third.
amount of time. That's a
Mhm.
disgrace. We should have way more German players. They're really, really
Bring
good.
in more Germans. I think there was one other German guy that was in the fringes or in the under 20, on 18s, 19s, 20, whatever it was,
Okay.
but never really made it to the first team. So from what I have, it was only Haman and Karius. So yeah, let's get some more Germans in people. Let's see what happens. Back to familiar ground, those two, before we wrap up. As of today, we had a here we go today from our least favorite Italian transfer noisemaker. And that was probably what we might call a more Eddie Howe transfer and an Eddie Howe player. And I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this because, barring a medical going wrong, it looks like we are on the verge of signing and potentially announcing Jacob Ramsey. He may even be announced by the time you're listening to this podcast, folks. Stu, Jacob Ramsey for a reported £38 million, if not 40. Bit of a dodgy season last season, had a couple of injuries here and there. But I really rate this player, but I don't want to sway you. Tell me what your thoughts are on Jacob Ramsey.
It is the going rate for players. I mean, Omar Hutchinson, at the time of recording, has just agreed to go to Forest for £38 million. This is
That
away.
man, like, this guy's like 21 and he's already accumulated about 60, 70 million in fees. And I feel like I've never really seen him play. So that might be my fault.
Untapped potential. He's 21 or so,
Yeah.
but he's like 2 or 3 years younger than Ramsey, and I think he's not played in the Champions League. He's not, had like 100 games in the Premier League. I know his goal record's not great, but he's
Yeah.
been part of a team. Emery, who has his flaws, knows a player, and he wanted to keep him. They offered him a contract. They wanted to keep him. They couldn't do it. They either couldn't match his wages, or the fact that a club that was going to come in could match his wages and provide Champions League football was something that was really appealing to him. The fan base, again, like you, I always listen and look to the fan base that sold them and see what they say, and I think most of them, all of them, have expressed a disappointment that he's going. All of them. Some of them have said they're disappointed, but they understand because of the fee, and some have said they're just disappointed because they don't think he should have gone. It depends. The percentage of that, I don't know. So every single one of them would have rather kept him than not. It's very similar to the Elliot Anderson situation for me,
Yeah.
from last year. Even if you think that's a hell of a fee, which it was, you're going to go, I prefer to keep him. If I could keep him, I would have preferred to keep him. And especially as he's developed, we obviously, in hindsight, would have preferred to keep him. It's similar to that. We're on the end of it last year. They're on the end of it this year. Neither of us should be on the end of anything. They should change the whole thing. But again, a topic for a different day. I think he's a good player. I think, as you say, a very Eddie Howe-like player. He will work hard. He's good with the ball at his feet. He is like Willock before he got an injury. And Willock before he got an injury was very, very good. Now, I know that, people we work with at True Faith, some of them really like Willock. I am not as convinced. I think he had a very good season, and then I've never really seen the highs of that season before. He's definitely not a bad player, but not maybe the levels that we're aspiring to get to. Ramsey, I think, is another shot at that, another throw at that dice. I think he's a very, very good player. He could be a great player. Crucially, though, it's about raising the floor of this squad. And that's the most crucial thing, because you are going into a Champions League campaign with Jamal Lascelles in the squad still, unfortunately, but you could have been going in with Longstaff, with, I'm going to say Dubravka, but people like Dubravka, and Jamal Lascelles, and there are going to be potentials coming on the bench for you. This summer was as much about developing the squad as it was about the first team, because the first team's still very good. It was those options off the bench. There's a reason why, with very few added games last season. We had a good season, and we finished relatively strongly, apart from the Everton match. You know, we did quite well because we didn't have that many games. The squad was small, but it was tight and it was very, very good. And so that's what I think we were aspiring to do, is raise the floor of this squad, be able to have extra options off the bench. And although he is similar to Willock, I think he's younger and more dynamic and an all-round better player and a better option. It'll also be nice to have someone to compete with for Joelinton, because I like Joelinton a lot, and I think that any competition is good for that sort of thing as well. For that sort of this environment, you want players competing with each other. You want them trying to get their best, and you also want to be able to bring them off and bring on a player of sufficient caliber to change a game. I think it's a good move for him. I think it's a good move for Villa. They've got a good bit of money for a player who's homegrown, so they can bank all that money, albeit they can't spend it this summer due to PSR. I think it's being reported. It's still a good move all in all. We wanted, I think most people, when they were looking at what they wanted a right winger, we wanted a centre back, we wanted a centre midfielder, and they wanted a striker, and I'm going to say and a goalkeeper as well, possibly. If we get Ramsey in, which let's face it, it's probably done. That's 4 out of 5, and the only thing there is a striker. We got Vissa in, that's a striker. I would have snapped your hands off that. The elephant in the room, obviously, is our current striker. But as I said, I don't think that'll be an issue come September or October. I think we'll be looking back on it a little bit differently. But that will be a very good summer. So I think he's a good addition. Is he the first addition, the first centre midfielder sprung to mind? No, probably not. But I still a very good option to have. I'm not as concerned about the fees as other people are. I think that is just the going rate for strikers.
I agree, yeah.
Or strikers, sorry, for players, should say any player.
Yeah, and English ones as well. Homegrown.
English and Premier League proven. Add look,
Yeah.
at least 5 to 10 mil because you're English, and at least
Well,
5
put it this way, Stu. Like we've also bought him off a rival. So like if it was the other way around, and Villa were coming in for a player, even if it was Willock, we'd be saying, well, we're not just going to give him to you for nothing.
No,
because you'd argue we're strengthening a rival. Now they have PSR problems, and I think we capitalized on that. And the thing about Ramsey, I think people would be worried because there was a couple of different types of injuries here and there. Emery wasn't mad for him, but equally, Villa spent a lot of money, and Villa have been very busy the last couple of seasons in terms of bringing in players since Emery took over. I see that like this is an opportunity. A lot of people freaked out at Tino Livermento's fee and Lewis Hall's fee. There's every chance that this could end up in the same place, right? That Ramsey comes in. He kind of gives me then I think it was 2 seasons ago. He was in like the top of his form for Villa, the best he's been so far. Because I had him in my FBL team, so I was always watching out for him. And it was kind of Dele Alli vibes, like when Dele Alli was actually good. What you'd love to think is that Eddie Howe, Jason Tyndall, the coaching staff can get their hands on this guy, and he helps us to do something different. Right now, where we are is we know what our midfield three brings. When Joelinton inevitably is the one missing for yellow card or injury reasons. When Willock has come in, just hasn't brought anything to the table in the last year and a half. What Ramsey might allow us to do is that we don't just need someone to come in and do what Joelinton does, but Ramsey might allow us to be a bit more front foot, getting up higher up the field. Probably more of a 10 than an 8, but equally, I think that Eddie Howe would be able to deploy him in multiple roles. And bottom line for me, he's just a much more creative and technical player with maybe a bit more intelligence than Joelinton. No offense to Joelinton, but we know what Joelinton brings, and I think Ramsey gives us something different. So that's exciting because again, it just allows you to do different things. And Stu, you and I have sat on many of the podcasts talking about Newcastle United being a little bit predictable. We need to not be too predictable. So yeah, you'd like to think Ramsey can create some question marks. Similarly with Alanga, and hopefully fit in well with the boys. You summed it up well there, Stu, in terms of making everyone feel better. If you take a step back, if we park the Isaac situation and kind of get over the fact that we lost out on targets to Liverpool, Real Madrid, Manchester United, whoever, Chelsea, that we have brought in a goalkeeper, we wanted one. We have brought in a right-sided centre-back, we wanted one. We have brought in a midfielder now, we have brought in a right-sided midfielder / winger. Striker seems to be the one that we'd like to fill. As you said, Whistle looks the most likely. And then if Isaac goes, I think that's when we'll probably go again. But I still think Wissa is a target regardless of Isaac's situation. If Isaac stays, we need them both. If he goes, we need to replace Isaac again. So that, all in all, isn't a horrendous window had I have offered it to you few months ago. But it is just hard to swallow when some of the other names that were linked went to bigger clubs. And we're going to have to get over that as a fan base.
You made the point though a couple of seconds ago. You're saying that other people have pinched our players or our targets, but also in the past, look at Hall, look at Livermore, people going, like, you've overspent on that. I wouldn't do that. Is it possible that those other teams, the big six, those other teams, have just said, hold on a minute, this Newcastle team, this recruitment team, whether it's Steve Nixon or whoever it is, seem to be picking out gems consistently. Not maybe the same level of Brighton, but look at the track record. Everyone's gone on and said it many times. We haven't really put that many feet wrong since the takeover. There've been very few missteps. They've all been, we've either got our money back for them or they've been really good signings. And I don't think it's that unrealistic to suggest that they've just said, look, just wait and see what Newcastle are doing. Or while they're looking, they're thinking, oh, hold on a minute, Newcastle are going for Delap, are they? Get a bid in, put a bid in. You're going for Sesko, get a bid in. And we saw that in two different occasions, both Ekatiki and Sesko, both clubs who got the player eventually didn't move until we went for the player. And I don't think that's just to piss Newcastle off. I think it's because they went, oh, Newcastle rate him, that recruitment team rate him. Let's have a look at him. Now, they wouldn't have just taken that at face value, but the fact that we've looked at him, I think, is enough evidence to suggest there's a player there. So I think that's really important and something that may be happening, which I don't hate. It's a bit of it's a compliment as well, something that's quite frustrating, but it's something we have to get used to because the cat's out of the bag. They know what we can do. They know what how good we are in that area of identifying players. Thankfully, though, we've been able to do it with other players. But like Tino and like Hall, I'm very confident that all those signs will be good ones. Even Ramsdale, who there was a lot of annoyance there, understandable because I was very excited about Trafford. I thought, arguably, out of all the signings we've made, maybe apart from Chow, I'd thought, potential signings, I thought a goalkeeper was probably the most important because Pope's very good, but you notice it the most when he's out of the game. That was my feeling. I like Dubravka because he's a good shot stopper. It's kind of it. And I thought Pope was the evolution of that. It was that times 10. I think Ramsdale, while it might not be as effective, it's going to be something that's going to be noticeable. There will be a difference. I certainly noticed it watching, and I'll give you an example. The goal in the Sella Cup, the Griezmann goal, I thought Pope was very poor on that. I thought he was slow. It was that shoulder again, getting down on his shoulder. He was late. Griezmann takes it whoever shot, but Griezmann took it was a unexpected shot. I think he hit it quite early, but it sort of arrows into the bottom left-hand corner, and I thought Pope should have done better. I didn't have the advantage of seeing it in real time in replay, but watching it back again, I'm pretty convinced. I think he did quite poorly, and I rate Pope very, very highly. But I think Ramsdale is just that step up from him, and whether he's going to be the permanent step up, we don't know. If he is, great. If he's not, we'll go from there.
Yeah, and I think Ramsdale he's like a goalkeeper Anthony Gordon. I think he's a bit of a vibesman. So like when he was playing well at Arsenal, he was first choice. Everyone was like he should be England's number one. He's better than Pickford. And then suddenly Arteta from one season to the next just changes his mind, brings in Davaraya, and suddenly Ramsdale's in the mud, head drops, maybe some silly comments, goes to Southampton, worst season, almost worst season ever, with a shit defense in front of him. That's tough when you're a goalkeeper having such a shit defense in front of you. Ask Shay Given, he did it for years, for club and country, sadly, mainly club. But I think that coming back under Eddie Howe, who he knows, coming into hopefully a happy set of players, again, forgetting the exact situation, we might actually get a goalkeeper with his best years ahead of him rather than behind him, which would be interesting to see. So yeah, fingers crossed on that one as well. Stu, I think that we could probably wrap that up because I'm feeling positive and I don't want anything to ruin it now. You summed it up really well. We wanted players in certain roles. We have got players in certain roles. On the face of it, on surface level, we think they're all definitely good enough. Maybe we're not done yet, but things are a lot better now than they were 1 week, 2 weeks, and 3 weeks ago. Just before we drop off, though, Stu, can you tell the Irish Mags listenership what they should be doing if they're watching a Newcastle United game at home on their couches or wherever they watch their games, if they're not at the stadium or in Newcastle? What should they be doing the moment they switch off and finish that game? Where should they be going to digest some instant reaction?
Yes, I can, Paul. So obviously, we both do work for True Faith, the True Faith podcast, and I'm sure some, maybe lots of the Irish Mags are patrons, or even just listen to the free pod. Get yourself over to the Patreon. It's absolutely brilliant. But we're doing a new thing this year. We are launching, it's a True Faith instant reaction. And we've done this on the Patreon for many, many years now, where after the game we'd have recorded an instant reaction pod talking about the main events of the game, giving our feelings and thoughts on what's happened, goals, events, things like that, and then putting out quite quickly. But it comes out about half an hour max usually after the game, because you got to record it and get it uploaded. This year on the True Faith YouTube channel, which a lot of the content goes out on, we're doing the instant reaction show, which is going to be straight after the game. I'm saying straight after, like maybe not at the final whistle, but maybe 5 minutes after. Very, very, very quick after the game. We're going to be live on the YouTube channel. So it's the True Faith YouTube channel. It's just True Faith Newcastle United podcast or True Faith podcast. You will find it. We will be there for every single game this season, and we'll be live reacting to that. It's great because it's very raw. There's a lot of emotion, especially if we've a very big win or a very big loss, or something tumultuous has happened. Nothing libelous, but we do get into things, and you end up forming quite strong opinions about lots of different things. It'll be mostly myself hosting, but we will have a huge range of different contributors, all from the True Faith podcast team. So, we'll have Alex and Charlotte will be on it, who I'm sure people know very well. Paul, myself will be on it this Saturday as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. It's a nice way to blow off steam if we've been poor, or you want to get you off your chest. And the difference between the old way of doing it and this way, obviously it goes out live, so it's quicker, you get access to it. If you're part of the Patreon, then you get the recorded version of it at the same time, video and audio at the same time as the YouTube show, which is great because you can watch it back. If you've missed it, you can watch it. You can obviously do it on YouTube as well, but it obviously stays in your app, within the same app. The YouTube show obviously has a chat feature as well, so you'll be able to chat with us and tell us,
it's a big therapy session, depending on what happens.
You can ask questions as well. You can shout abuse that's usually hidden within the comments of the Patreon post. You can do that live to my virtual face, and
bring the haters, bring on the haters. Do love them.
So look, we're really excited about it. It's something we've been cooking up for a wee while now and preparing for it all summer. It's something that I think it's just a nice way to connect with anyone that's interested in True Faith, the content we put out there, or you want to just, again, blow off steam, commiserate, celebrate, all those nice things. And as I say, we'll be there. So as I say, True Faith YouTube channel, as soon as the game finishes, get yourself on there. A link will be there. And if you haven't subscribed to that channel, you should subscribe and you'll get a notification for it. If not, just hop on the YouTube channel and I'll see you there.
Absolutely. And there'll be a link for that in the description, along with all the other links you need for the Irish Mags, website, socials, etc. Stu, we didn't really preview the game. And one of the reasons I haven't leaned in that direction is I have no fucking idea what's going to happen against Aston Villa at the weekend. Aston Villa have had probably an arguably poor transfer window. We have had not a great one, but it's just got better in the last few days, but it's very, very raw and recent. So, simple question, Stu. Predicted score, Newcastle away to Aston Villa on Saturday, first game of the season, in a who the fuck knows scenario.
Someone always gets tonked in these games, and it sort of swings. So the last time it was 4-1, unfortunately. I remember that. Quite unpleasant. So, if we had Isak going into this, and it's a big one, we don't, I would be confidently saying we'll win this game. Confidently, because I think we're a better squad than them. I think Chow might even play. Ramsey, I don't think he'll be registered in time. I think it's by 12:30 tomorrow. He has to be registered by, but I don't think he'll play anyway. I think that's why they're waiting for that. But even at that, I think we're a very good squad. Everyone's fit for the most part. Over the terrible preseason results wise, but built up performance wise, got slowly better and better. And I feel as if we're just ready to burst. And there's also been a lot of negative noise about the team. I think we're ready to dispel that. Eddie Howe's very good at creating a siege mentality amongst the players. You saw that when in the season we tried to escape relegation and did. So that's what I want to see from us. If Isak, I say, would win it. If we don't have him, the problem is there's no striker, because Osula is just not good enough and he won't start. So it'll be Gordon or it'll be Alanga, and they just aren't effective enough. Well, I don't know about Alanga because to be fair, he's not played up front for us yet. He'll want them on the wings. I think Gordon just isn't as effective. He drifts wide. It's just not it. So if we do win, it'll have to come from like a midfield goal or something like that, or a set piece from our new set piece coach that we've got in. I don't think we will. My head says that we'll probably lose, and everyone. But the difference here is I don't think we'll kick off. I won't kick off. And spoiler for this interaction, unless we're absolutely abject and dreadful. There's no effort, which I don't think there will be. I'm not going to be massively over the top if we lose, because we haven't got our main striker. We haven't got our best player playing for us, which is not our fault at all. That's going to affect how you play.
He
It's very much
still hasn't given us a score, listeners.
okay. I'm going to say I'm
You're
telling
digging
you,
you're
we're going to
getting
get
into the
beat.
rabbit hole and then you're digging yourself
My
out.
head says we're going to beat about 3-1.
Really?
I'm
Wow. Okay.
bit of a tonkin. My heart says that actually it's the first game of the season. Who knows what's going to happen? We
That's
are
right.
going to get an Alanga, wonder goal, or Tonali is going to come on for a set piece. I think we could win 3-1. I think it could be that swing. That is how pendulous. That's a word. How pendulous is now. These results have been. It could easily be one or the other. So,
Okay.
I'll go with my head for now. But trust me, listeners, about 15 minutes before kickoff, it will be very much harsh. We were going to win 3-1 easily. So I'll go with my head and I'll say 3-1 Aston Villa. Unfortunately.
Okay, so what you're saying is now we don't condone gambling here and we encourage people to gamble sensibly, but if you were in the bookies right now, you would put a bet on Villa to win 3-1 and Newcastle to win 3-1.
Well, I never bet against Newcastle. I'm a terrible gambler, but I never bet against Newcastle. Never bet against them.
Yeah,
Yes, I would, but if I had to, if you're a gun to my head making me do it, I would put 3-1 to Villa.
okay, fair enough. I think the only thing I do have faith in is our defense. Now, we don't know who's going to start, as we mentioned. It'd be surprising to see Malik Chow, Botman, maybe, hard to know. But I just always have faith in our back line, in back five, let's say, to put in a shift when other things are messy. So I do think that we might be okay containing them. Unknowns for them, is it Watkins that starts? Is it the new French chap that they signed? They're a little bit all over the place too. So I'm gonna throw a 1-1 out there. I think that we just manage the game and squeeze, as you said, squeeze in a goal. Maybe Anthony Gordon wins a penalty, maybe Tonali pops up. And I would absolutely take that considering shit show. Maybe it's what I would like, but equally, I do think it's a possibility. So I'm going to go with that. Stu, listen, we're going to call it there. That is episode 88 of the Irish Mag Show, brought to a close. Thank you so much, Stu, for jumping on, filling in more than capably for those two missing gobshites, who will be back, of course, next week, everybody. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. Check out all the links below. And we are kicking off a new Premier League season on Saturday. Football is back. Premier League is back. Newcastle United are back. Let's see if we're all smiles by the time the game finishes on Saturday. Enjoy the weekend wherever you're watching it, and we'll see you all next week. How are the lads? Slán go forward.